Welcome to Earth2 Comic Cast, where superheroes exist and comic book talk is the norm. It is your host, Mo Crosby. As you can see from the banner, we are talking Game of the Year 2020. So, this is a ranking show, by the way. So, what we're going to be ranking, actually, hold on, time out. Let me bring the guys who are going to be doing this with me. Today on Earth2 Ranks Everything, we have Roy.
Ahoy, hoy.
And we have Ray. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. What was the last show we did?
The three of was it the no? Was it the
No.
Nolan movies? I think
That was probably your last one. We did one before. We did one.
I think we did one after that.
Yeah, you all did one after
Spider-Man. We did Spider-Man.
Oh, you did the Spider-Man movies. But that was a good. You came up with a pretty agreeable list.
Yeah, the list wasn't horrible. It wasn't like
I wasn't there to make it worse. So.
It wasn't the Nolan list, so yeah.
Yeah.
But so today we're doing Game of the Year, but to make it interesting, I mean, it's 2020 in 2020 fashion. It's not just going to be just the Game of the Year, right? What we decided to do was go back 5 years and pick out games of the years and say, okay, look, these are the games of the year. Well, these are our games of the year, so we're gonna rank our personal 5 favorites, and then we're gonna have each other. We're gonna show our personal 5, and then we're gonna have the other.
You show me yours, I'll show you mine.
Yes, and so that's. Oh, look who's here with no list. Okay, he just decided to come through. Do you have a list, sir? Because everyone has a list of games for the last 5 years. Are you just gonna read yours off a piece of paper, Anthony?
Oh, is that what we're talking about? List of games?
Talking about today that didn't exist. Yes, Anthony, we're talking games of the year. So we're going from 2015 to today, to 2020. What have you played? And so there is the official, like the I think, what's the name of the Video Game Awards has one, IGN has one, and all these other publishers have one. But what are your games of the year for like 2015 all the way through 2020?
I'll just comment on y'all's. I don't really have a list.
You know what? That's fair.
That's fine.
It's fun. Actually, that's pretty great. So we have a third person that's gonna sit here and judge us. That's amazing. So it's amazing how that works. So who's going first? Obviously, our ranking system is the way our ranking system has always been, S tier. Well, not always. It varies for different things. So it's a S tier. Hold on, I'll show it to you for a second. I didn't share screen yet. I'm sorry. I was ready for the show, by the way. This just happened to happen the way this happened.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So is this console, PC,
everything,
phone games?
Yeah, we have we have a bunch of Wii games on here. We have Switch, a couple Switch games on here. Yeah, so
console reality game. Ooh.
Yeah, so yes, console, PC, whatever it is, whatever you play. So S tier, A tier, B, C, and D. Obviously, it's 5, and they're honorable mentions, and they're a couple games where you couldn't decide if this was the game or if this was the other game, but you played both and you love both. So, who's going first? Rock, paper, scissors.
I'll go first.
All right, great. Ray's list, I thought, was very interesting. So what I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to put everyone to the side, and I'm going to put your list up at S, right?
That's where they all belong.
Oh, I love this show. So I'm going to put your, so we have for you, Life is Strange. Where's it at?
Good pick.
Life is Strange, Doom.
That's the 2016 Doom, right? Not the
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's that guy. So Doom, what was it? You had Overwatch as your second.
Yeah, it was very close between Doom and Overwatch for me that year, but I preferred Doom by
Right. You have Zelda.
Mm-hmm.
Zelda
solid.
Breath of the Wind. Now, this one, you have God of War, PlayStation 5, or Spider-Man. I'm going to ask you for the purpose of the list, which would you rather have up there?
Dang.
Yes.
Like both hit me real hard.
Yes.
Dang. You know what? I'll give it to Spider-Man.
All right,
Like,
that's fair.
That's a very very tough one. Like
That's the OG one, right? The Peter one.
Yeah, Peter. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Like
It was a good game.
God of War is also so good. It's so tough for me to actually pick between the two of them.
20. You had Monsters.
That's Monster Hunter.
Yeah, Monster Hunter. Yeah.
World, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you have Half-Life, Alex, for this year. Wait.
Oh wait, Half-Life came back out?
No, it's the VR game.
Oh, never mind then. I got so excited. I got so excited.
All right, so
sort of like Half-Life 4 or 3 or whatever that would have been.
Oh, you know how long we wait for that game?
So can everyone see Ray's list?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
It's a good list.
Right. So he has. I just decided to blow it up again. Life is Strange, Doom 2016, Zelda, Spider-Man. He decided between God of War and Spider-Man, and he gave it to Spider-Man, Monster Hunter, and Half-Life, Alex. So
I got a question.
Go for it.
Oh, I thought you said Overwatch was on here somewhere.
No, it was a between Overwatch and Doom type situation.
Yeah. Like
okay, so there's only a certain number of slots.
Huh?
There's only like 6 slots. You have
5 slots, right?
Everyone has.
Yeah, from 2015 to 2020.
Because there's 6 games there, right?
Yeah, am I doing this right? Yeah, it is
2015, 2016, 17, 18, 19.
Oh, see, here's the thing. I didn't go year by year. I just did the 5 best games for me in the last 5 years. I didn't do year by year.
That is tricky because that is your best 5 in the last 5 years, and that's fine.
I mean, again, I have a very temperamental video game taste, so.
All right, so let's go. So, out of Ray's,
about his?
Yes, we're about to dissect Ray's list real quick. So, where do you want to start off, Anthony?
Let's start off with Life is Strange. Who here has played Life is Strange?
Amazing game.
Not. I was going to ask you to tell me what it was about.
Yeah, I was.
Real quick while you were talking at your list.
Is it Telltale adjacent?
Yes.
Okay. So
Telltale adjacent
because it's 60% off, and I might buy it if you convince me.
It's Telltale. It's Telltale adjacent. It's about
like the Walking Dead game.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the sense that you walk around, and you click things. Yes.
Okay. It's a narrative game. Is the technical?
Yes, it's a narrative game. Yeah. It's about a girl who gets the power to rewind time. So basically, you play it's like playing The Walking Dead, right? And then if you do something you don't like, you can rewind time and redo it.
Huh.
That's a cool trick. That's always
if that wasn't Walking Dead, I think.
Yeah, but anyway, like some of the narrative is in you doing that, and some of it is in making tough choices also. And the entire meat of the game is exploring the relationship this character Max has with all her other friends and their experiences. It's got a lot of like really deep and some heavy stuff. And like it was one of those games where when I beat it, I mean there are 2 possible endings. I picked my one ending and then I just sat back for a minute and like, wow. Yeah. I never went back to try to see because I don't care what the other ending is like. Mm-hmm. That ending was my ending. It was one of those games that affected me emotionally.
See, I enjoy those games when you kind of the game tricks you into having your own story. Like you played through the story. I don't want to say trick, but like gives you that experience.
It's not my story. I don't see it as my story. I see what you're saying. But it's not my story. However, I feel like the character of Max, based on the time we spend with her, is so well fleshed out. And like it's also got this thing where it's like they're all like teenage. You're playing a girl in high school, and they're all like kids in high school, and like it's nothing like high school that you remember. But it's also like well, this is definitely high school.
You don't know my life.
This
So-
is definitely high school. Yeah.
Right. The high school setup makes no sense. No high school operates like the high school, like all fictional high schools.
Right.
But the emotional notes are very, very teenage.
Very, very high.
I mean, this was one of my
genre based on that. I might get down with that. I might play that.
It really resonates. It deals with like things like grief, loss, suicide, and like a whole bunch of other things.
So you know what?
Does it play Naruto music? Does it play Naruto music when things get sad?
No. It plays indie rock.
Oh, okay.
So I'm gonna ask Roy because I think you're the only other person that's played this game. Where would you put it?
Well, it was an honorable mention for me. Like it
was your honorable mention.
Whether or not I should put that on there. I would keep it at S. Like it is, honest to goodness, one of the best games I've ever played. It's probably my favorite narrative game of all time. So I definitely am okay keeping it at S. The reason I kept it off is it does have it's like middle is a little saggy, like a lot of these kind of episodic games, because they pad it out a little bit. So like if we're limiting everything could end up at S at the end, keep it at S. But if we're fighting over like say 5 things should be at S, I could see marking it down to A. But it's definitely an S A tier game for me.
Okay, so I guess. Anthony, you have the final call on this one.
So I have played the Walking Dead games, and they're the Telltale games that I enjoyed the most. But I didn't even finish. I think the last chapter. But a family member did and really enjoyed it, and she's late teens, early teens, middle teens, and so she really enjoyed it. I enjoy Telltale games. I enjoy picking your own narrative and deciding how things happen, and because remember the old pick your adventure storybooks when you read through and does Optimus Prime shoot or whatever, like those are, it's always fun. Those are essentially what these are with better graphics. I enjoy them immensely, and you have to have a really strong story to keep that up, and so I can't knock it.
So you have it at S then.
From what I'm hearing, if it's better, would you say it's better than the Walking Dead games, Ray?
Yes. For me, yes. I think that the first Walking Dead is a phenomenal game. The second one tells a story of abuse that a lot of people don't catch. But in my opinion, it's also a decent game. I think this game is better than both. Yes.
Then I'd have to agree. Based on my reference, I might buy it now.
If it's 66% off, it is definitely worth like what, $5 or whatever.
I think it's got like 5 chapters or something like that. And I remember like when I bought 6 chapters. And when I bought it, there were like 5 chapters out. And like I beat the first 5 chapters within a weekend, and then the rest of the time I was kind of like, when's this last one coming out?
You might have made somebody's Christmas this day.
There we go. That's our first S rank game of the day. Next game for Ray is Doom. So,
all right. So when this game was coming out, like they released like videos and they released like
I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but has everyone played Doom? Okay.
I played some of it.
Okay. So
when this game was coming out, they released a multiplayer beta, and everyone swore this game was going to be trash because the multiplayer beta was absolute garbage. It was like, it's garbage. But then, like, I got into this game and I played it, and like, I cannot put into words how much it exemplifies the original like 2 games, but like to an I don't mean to call it extreme, but like. It is to like to an almost extreme end. It's got like a storyline in the background, and if you pay attention, you can find out what's going on, but you don't have to. Like you can just run through the game and gun everything. And like each room is like what's the word I'm looking for? Is I want to say like a puzzle, because like you get in there and they're like enemies of different kind. They spawn in different like waves or whatever it is, and you have to like juggle your weapons to figure out what you need to take out, like prioritize stuff, what you need to take out first, etc., etc. And like, I have not played a first-person shooter in a long time that I had that much fun. Like, if you haven't played it and you think first-person shooters can be fun, you need to play it.
Okay, Anthony. Again,
I'll never bet against Doom. because I just have happy memories of it. Like, you know what I mean? Like it pushed it. And this one, it for what a little I played and was exposed to it, it felt like waking back up and still giving demons hell. And I love that.
God, and the music was top notch.
Yeah, the closest.
They got a what was this guy's name? Mick Foley, was that his name? No, not Mick Foley. Mick Gordon. Mick Foley's the rest.
Foley's Mankind, right?
Yeah. This guy Mick Gordon, he's the guy who did like stuff like the new Killer Instinct soundtrack, where it's got like stuff like dynamic music, where like as you do higher combo levels, the music changes and there's like all these Foley effects in the music. It's like all this really cool stuff, and like Doom also has stuff like that. And it's phenomenal. Like it's just an adrenaline shot.
Look, it appeals to our basic toxic male instincts of destroying. The closest thing I can describe to it is one time I was asleep and I think Ray put on the Duke Nukem music and I got up just kicking a bike.
I put up a Stabbing Westward CD. And the Thing I Hate came on, and that is one of the songs that's on one of the PlayStation Duke Nukem games. I think so. And Anthony woke up like, yeah.
So Anthony,
so that's kind of Rush Doom. So I'll never,
So then, where do you place this? I'm
gonna go with Ray and say S.
Wow.
You know what? No. I'm gonna go A because there's a first-person shooter I enjoyed more.
Oh, okay. What is that?
Well, I don't have a list, so if it comes,
just go ahead and let us know for a second. I'm curious.
Oh, so I enjoyed Overwatch more. I think that
Overwatch was my second, like right under Doom was Overwatch for me.
I can't be mad. I can't be mad on what you put further. And maybe if I played all of Doom, I would have a different opinion. But Overwatch was to me one of the best shooters. First-person shooters I can imagine in a long time. I'm trying to think about the best I'd put up there with it, but you don't even have to be a good shot to play Overwatch, but you can still have skill. You can play different types of ways. You can be a transformer or or a teleporting character. There's so much you can do in Overwatch, and they continually make it fun. And I've heard interviews where they said their whole goal was to make everything fun. And even when they have specials, you can get a story mode of a first-person shooter where you're not going against people, you're going against a pre-laid story of NPCs, and the events. I
said a campaign.
Yeah, campaign, and the events every year are something I look forward to. The skins are already really detailed and really thought out. And I mean, Tracer gets more than anybody else, but. So
she's the title character.
Yeah, I know, but like, but they give love to all the characters, and they're constantly tweaking to make the game balanced, which I really.
Why don't you have a list, Anthony? I'm so disappointed. But yeah,
for all my troubles with Activision Blizzard, I like their attempt at inclusivity in Overwatch. They have several people of color. They have old people. They have young people. They have people with disabilities. They have, it's fantastic. I respect that a lot.
And a thing they did is there's a is he Nigerian? I think he's a Nigerian character who they made the bad guy, right? And none of these characters are, or not, I won't say a bad guy, but let's say he's not. He's what you typically might see as the antagonist side, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
But they weren't afraid to make that choice, right? But they weren't made to make everybody have flaws, and nobody's like, it's really well thought of. And even when people, I don't necessarily agree with this all the time, but even when people had a group of fans advocated they didn't like how Tracer was in a poster with her butt facing, I guess, the camera, and they changed it, right? I think no one ever talks about the men with the 46-inch chest, like, but.
All right. Let's not get carried away with Overwatch. You should have had a list if you wanted to talk. Moving on.
I wasn't going to talk about it.
Next, I just asked you for what your game that you put over Doom was, and you just went to. No, I'm kidding.
Blame the Adderall.
Next game for Ray is Zelda. Which one was it? Because I think you had Yeah. So has
That's
everybody?
wild.
I'm sorry if you have not played Breath of the Wild by now. I don't know what you're doing.
Don't have a
You know,
Switch. I'm sorry.
like there's no excuse not to have a Switch. They're like $99.
Which ones?
Just
So
buy them
Switch
pre-owned.
Lite is cheap.
Oh,
yeah.
wait. It got really expensive this year because of the pandemic. My bad.
Yes, it did.
So
I'm like, which one?
like you could buy them pre-owned for like $99 last year.
Yeah, because they're like $2.99 right now, and I'm like, yeah, no.
So when it comes to
This-
Zelda,
this-
Ray is biased, and I don't play because I know Ray's going to play, and I can all get my experience through Ray. So
Listen,
No. Don't
I
do
will
that because
play-
you have the final say on this.
I will play every Zelda game, and I will tell you if they're good or not. I think Majora's Mask, not a great game. Skyward Sword, just okay. Like, I have opinions about all of them. And honestly, like, you know that feeling? I don't know how many of you have played Ocarina of Time. But, like,
everybody's played all great.
Everyone
I should-
under the
I should-
age of, you know,
I should hope so, but Mo looks like he hasn't.
between 25 and 45 has
Mo
definitely
looks
played
like
that
he
game.
hasn't.
What?
Has Mo played Ocarina of Time?
No. You're right.
Did you watch somebody play Ocarina of
Yes,
Time?
I did.
'Cause those are the
Actually,
two experiences, right?
Yeah.
All right. So the best description I can give Breath of the Wild is this. In Ocarina of Time, the first time you walk out, when you leave the forest, you walk out into a Hyrule field, and you're like, oh my god, this is so massive. I wonder what's over there. I wonder what's over there. I wonder what's over there. That is the entire game of Breath of the Wild. The entire time you're like, I wonder what's over there, and like you can get over there. Like you like there's always that joke about Todd Howard saying, see that mountain over there, you can climb it. You can literally climb it in Breath of the Wild. Like literally. Like I can't put into words how great this game is for how simple it is.
Roy, did you play this?
Simple game.
I don't enjoy the gameplay loops of modern Zelda games, so I didn't. But my wife is a huge Zelda fan, and so I've watched like 30 to 80 hours of her playing this game because she's played it twice.
Based off.
I can talk about it. Though.
All right. So I'd like to hear you talk about it.
I think it's good. Like I would definitely put it in the S or A tier. It's probably the best of the modern Zeldas overall. And then, do you want to say something?
I heard you was talking about Zelda.
This is.
Here we go. Look at that.
Where would you put Breath of the Wild? Is it S, A, B, C, or D?
Put the headphones on.
So they can hear it here.
Hi, it's an S rank game, easily.
Okay, great. That's it. That's it. That's all we need.
She knows what it's all about.
Yeah, she does, and that's the end of it. That's that.
Yeah. There's a couple like design flaws, like the fact that weapons break. I think was a really stupid.
And this is how you got divorced. This is how you got divorced.
Moving on.
If
I will forever defend that decision because, like, in every Zelda game, you got the most powerful weapon. You never used anything else. This forces you to keep trying different weapons.
Well, that makes sense.
By the time you get to a certain point, like finding new weapons is not even hard, but you're getting different types of weapons all the time. So you're cycling between like a giant boomerang and a two-handed spear, and things like that. Like I enjoy that.
What was the flaw?
So it forces you to use different weapons, like
the weapons. You find weapons all the time, and they break after a while.
Oh, so they.
I'm
it's
for
like
that.
Yeah, that's not a flaw.
The weapon.
I don't know. Watching her collect weapons over and over again, it just repetitive to me.
Wait.
It annoyed me. Like it's one of the reasons why I would not play the game. It's like I'm just not interested in that kind of like. I value my time.
Your wife said it's an S tier game, so it is an S tier game.
I just like how am I put this? I can enjoy things and appreciate people's things, and still admit that there's like flaws.
Wait. Is it tedious?
And we'll get to that when we talk about some of mine.
Those Arkham games, or is it a fun way to get new weapons?
It's just like your weapons will last through like one or two fights, and one or two fights is usually between like 5 to 10 monsters at a time attacking you. So you fight group. You fight these group of monsters, and then you go to the next place and you fight another group of monsters and you fight them. And like the weapon breaks, you find another weapon, you continue from there. But you can hold up to 20 weapons at a time.
Okay. That's not bad. So yeah, moving on. Your next on the list is Spider-Man and PS4.
Yes.
The Peter game.
Yes.
You gotta be clear. Yeah.
And and that's why I said PS4. And yes, it's.
I think the
Should have been
story
game of
in
the
this
year.
game is better than the story in any
Any
Spider-Man.
Spider, well, not
Like-
Into the Spider-Verse, but
Okay, yeah, not Into the Spider.
You mean live action Spider-Man movie?
Yes, live action.
yes, any
Like-
like,
Like
yes.
not even up for debate. It
Hey,
is.
have you played
so
this?
good?
So I was gonna say, usually I'm quiet on this, except my nephews brought over their PS4 this past week, and if I didn't want to kick them off their system and keep playing that thing, so I gotta say, if you had told me what 20 something years ago this was gonna be the evolution of Spider-Man games, I could see that. This is
Yeah, I would have. My one and only experience with Spider-Man games was Web Shooters Don't Fail Me Now. I don't know if you guys remember that. What
I
was it?
remember that.
PS2 or PlayStation 1?
I played on all the way from PlayStation 1 all the way.
Listen,
To like,
yeah.
you know.
and he's swinging, and he's like, "Web Shooters Don't Fail Me." And you're like,
So
I remember we played that GameCube version in Anthony's basement.
yeah, and coming from that, I hadn't played this game till I got the PlayStation 5. So I played the remastered version. It looks amazing remastered.
It looks really amazing on the 4 without the remaster either. So
this is my thing. If you know nothing about Spider-Man, or you do, if you know nothing about it, now you can consider yourself up there to talk about Spider-Man with anybody else, in my opinion.
Yes,
Mhm.
it's
And
one of the better Spider-Man stories. Yes,
and if you love Spider-Man, you got to live out your dreams as being that character, going on on a pretty original adventure too, right? Because
Yes.
like so
Yeah.
often we replay the same stories over and over again with these characters, and so to have a compelling, like I'd have bought the graphic novel of this, or I'd watch this on you know what I
I
mean?
watched the movie.
Yeah.
And
Now, like the only problems I had with that game were both the I think I mentioned this to you guys last week or whenever.
Yeah, on the Spider-Man.
The Mary Jane sections and the Miles Morales section. But like the problems I have with them, like they take a back seat because they make sense for the narrative. Like if you're playing just a Spider-Man game,
Slows the game down a tad.
the only thing you'd be doing is swinging in to save Mary Jane. Like you would have missed that entire part of all the things she did before she jumped out a window before you had to go save her. You know, so it's like it's nice that they flesh her out and they give her like competence and make her she's not a superhero, but she might as well be.
this
Yeah.
is the closest we
I
got to
appreciate
Mary
that.
Jane from the comics in another media that I can think of, because in the movies don't really do Mary Jane justice.
No.
The 90s
know,
cartoon didn't.
The cartoon really did.
No.
No, the cartoon
I
really
mean,
did.
no, yeah, she was a damsel in distress. Her
Yeah.
whole anything.
Oh no, Hydra Man showed up again.
Yeah. And
and
and also was really cool to me was telling my nephews about the costumes and from the comics that didn't really tell you where it came from, and just said, "Oh, I have this comic, it's this story, blah 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 blah," and it was a real good connecting moment, you know. So I don't see how this isn't an S rating game.
Roy.
So I mean, I definitely agree. I'll be going further. I think this might be the best Spider-Man story in like 30 years. Like, I mean, to be fair, it's a low bar. Like, Spider-Man has gotten the low end of the totem pole in the comics since the mid 90s. And then like I'm a hater of modern Spider-Man comics, I'll be honest. Like since one more day, I jumped to ship and
You and I
not
both.
looked back.
You and I both.
No, Spider-Man story in the comics haven't been great.
You know, so it gets a lot of points for me with that. I think it's the best superhero video game of all time, I think. I mean, you can argue some of the Lego games. I know people will argue for them, and I can definitely see that. But for me, it was definitely the best. Better than any of the Batman games.
What? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I think it captures the essence of what it means to be Spider-Man
He is
way
poor in
more
this game.
than I think the problem that Batman faces as a video game. I think like the experience of who Batman is a little hard to capture in a video game.
I can't. I'm not going to disagree, but I'm going to push back a little bit. That while this game, and again, I haven't beaten it, so I can't. You know, my.
See, I think when
hold on.
Okay, go ahead.
The thing is, when I played this, I felt like this captured who Peter Parker was. When I played those Arkham games, at least the original, the first two, that was the closest to being Batman or being in a 90s Batman cartoon it ever felt. So I can't. I don't want to trash the Batman games and say that they didn't make you feel like Batman because
I'm not gonna pretend the
I
Batman
think they're
games are.
talking Arkham Knight. I think what he's really trying to say is Arkham Knight. He's
Well, I
not
think
talking
Arkham Knight is
about
not as
Batman.
good as the second one, which didn't come
Okay,
out in the last 5 years.
right.
So
I agree.
the second one I think is the best Batman Arkham game. But
Yes.
anyway, I think if the game had I would definitely put it A or S. The problem is I think it suffers from, and we can talk about this when we talk about Origins or even like Witcher 3, which is one of the games on my list, is it's a little bloated. Like there's a little bit of
little?
like, oh yeah. I heard the Miles game also suffers from this. And I'm excited when I buy a PS5 to play the Miles game. Like I'm very excited for that. But like it's got just like a bunch of content that I'm like, I don't care. Once you do 4 science missions, you're like, okay, I'll do another science mission. And I just am sick of that. Like
fun of doing those missions, right? Is so you can unlock suits and unlock points, so you can get powers, and it's fun. But honestly, when you're playing through, it's fun to do those on the side during the first initial playthrough, right? Because that's what I did. I would play them on the side. Like do 1 or 2 science missions, or do 1 or 2 the what's his Harry's little science labs that are stuck everywhere. Do 1 or 2 of those. Do a Fisk Tower beat down, and get back into the swing of things.
You were required to, after every storyline mission, you're required to at least do something else, like
solve a crime,
something else, right, before you continue. I can see where he's going. Like, I don't like that those stupid hacking games and like chemical combination or whatever. It's like those were just absolutely tedious. They could have just left them all out of the game. I didn't move those in the game. Like,
were very annoying.
I can't stand the screwball missions. All the side missions, like, I can see how someone could consider that below, but they're not things you have to do.
No, they're not. Right. They're not. But
not the Avengers game, at least.
If you're into completing games and getting all the trophies, it's something that you want to do, because that's what it is.
If you're into 100%ing a game, be aware that you bought an open world game.
Yes.
Right. I mean, I don't want to I think that.
And then we talked about this one, right? They never really go to Queens.
I mean, you never go to Queens or Brooklyn, right?
Yeah, it's mostly Harlem.
It's just entirely Manhattan. You can swing on the bridge, and then he kind of hits an invisible wall, and then you got to turn around. I do hope that they are making a game that's apparently going to have both Peter and Miles in it.
Can't wait.
For the PlayStation 5 for 2022, and my hope is that it'll be a little bit more like maybe the whole city, or at the very least the 3 boroughs people care about: Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. Sorry, Bronx fans.
Sorry, Bronx and Staten Island.
Whoa! No, you're a Staten Island fan. Come on.
So, are we gonna put this in A then?
I'm happy with putting it as an S.
I'm not mad that it's an A game. I'm also not mad. It could be, because based on story alone, if you play through the original story, this is a S tier game. I mean, that story with Doc Anthony, I don't want to say anything, but when you're done with the game, you might shed a tear, and we know you don't cry. Moving on. Next game on the list. Monster Hunter. Ray, why is this on here?
All right. I think Monster Hunter games are an acquired taste, and I've been playing Monster Hunter games since the early aughts. This is also a game that I played with my wife. What Monster Hunter games are known for is their difficulty, but they're not like the Soulsborne difficult kind of games where it's just tediously difficult. In Monster Hunter, you have to learn how a monster attacks. You have to carve parts of the monster when you kill it and make new armor sets and things like that. And it's one of those games where you can perceptibly see your skill increase with the game, with the difficulty in the game. You could see yourself getting better. You can go back later on and fight things you fought at the start and be like, "Oh, this is piss easy. Why was this kicking my ass before?" I can't put into words what Monster Hunter is like solo, but if you're playing it with someone else consistently, like I did with my wife, it's definitely an S tier game.
Okay. Has anyone played this?
No, I've heard good things about it from my friends and various. I'm a big role playing game person. I don't really like the Monster Hunter games because they're difficult and they're not. They're more like loot focused and like just
Yeah.
about fighting monsters and not really story-driven games. So that's not like my cup of tea, but I've heard really good things about people who enjoy that style of JRPG. So I would see making it like an A game because it is a little bit nichey. Because if you don't like those kind of games, it's not universally good the way in which I'd say like Life is Strange, Zelda, where like even if you're not a fan of the genre, you can experience those games and enjoy them. I think it's a bit more like.
Ant, do you have a say on this?
I mean, I don't know much about it. I know it's popular. It seems like one of those things are probably more popular in Asia than they are here. I have really no opinion. If you like crafting and things like that, I think this is probably a game for you. But when me and Ray would play games like together, Ray would fish for hours on end. So I can't.
When I play Gears of War, I'm in every corner. I'm looking for everything. Like I can't just go through the game. Like really, that's just how you.
Well, no, I appreciate craft trees and skill trees, and you do this long enough, you get better at it, or your character gets better at it. But I think you've already said it. It's a particular type of person that can, do that.
Rounding up Ray's list, we have Half-Life. Alex, Ray.
All right. Now, unfortunately, the downside to this game is it's a VR game.
Oh man!
But out of all the games up here, like in my opinion, the experience of this game is better than every single game up here except maybe Breath of the Wild.
Wow.
If you manage to get yourself a VR headset with controls that work reasonably well, it is an experience I think everyone should actually go to. Like, unless VR makes you sick, like it's an experience everyone needs to go through. Like, I think I said it a while back. I've never had a game like physically make me jump, but like this is because like the fidelity was so like visceral and the audio was so good. Like the point I bring up is usually like 10 minutes into the start of the game. I'm walking across a balcony and this tripod thing with 3 legs comes stepping down and the leg lands like right in front of my character. And like you hear the audio from it and like the whooshing and like the huge thunk of it hitting ground. And it's like, it feels so real that if you weren't expecting it, you'd shit yourself.
Wow.
And like that is the entire game feels like that quality goes from the start of the game. It goes from the start of the game all the way through to the end of the game. Like even if you don't like the story, like the play itself is unlike anything you will have experienced up until then.
Well, I haven't really played any VR games, so I can't speak to that. Has anyone played any VR games? Oculus, nothing. So I guess Ray, this is on you. Where would you put this?
This is definitely necessary. Like let's see that. Make it so like
it's your list.
Let me talk to you about how visceral this game is. Like when your gun runs out of bullets, you have to grab a mag. You have to put it into the VR.
It's not one of the.
And then you have to manually cock the gun so you can shoot the gun again. And then it's so when you're in the middle of combat, all that becomes like a real tactical thing. Like, okay, I need to back up, I need to reload, I need to do all this thing. It's not like you do it in a video game where it just feels really, really gamey. It's like, oh my god, like if I don't do this right, I'm gonna die.
All right, that's fair. So we'll give you an S rank on that game. Next list is Roy's list. As you can see, we have The Witcher 3, Civilization 5, Final Fantasy 7 Remake, Persona 5, and Crusader Kings 3.
Yep. So I guess the important thing...
That is an eclectic pick.
It is. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's important I guess the caveat here is I only play role-playing games and strategy games.
Okay.
For me to play something that is not requires something that, like, I'm really interested in the property, like the Spider-Man game or the Avengers game. Like, I'll play stuff like that because I'm interested in the property. I like that superheroes, but, like, I don't like first-person shooters. I'm bad at them and I don't enjoy the experience.
This was your personal
it's my personal list.
Yeah,
I guess we'll start with The Witcher 3 because that's probably the one most people have played or have experience on. I think Witcher 3 is the best.
Tell me, this is our first CD Projekt Red game. You know what's funny? When I was like, CD Projekt Red is probably not going to get any love, but here we go. The Witcher 3's on here. Amazing.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I was primed. I did not like Witcher 2 when I first played it.
Mhm.
And I was primed to hate Witcher 3 because I disliked a lot of the discourse around Witcher 2 and people comparing it to games that I thought were infinitely better than it. And this belief that CD Projekt Red is going to save the Western role-playing genre, which has proven up to be bullshit. But Witcher 3 itself as an experience is amazing. It is the best Western RPG, I would probably say, since Mass Effect 2. It's really, really, really excellent.
I'm sorry, Anthony. Is there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, you're welcome to disagree, Anthony. Like,
no, I mean, I played it. A friend of mine that's close here played it religiously, and I watched him, and then I got it. I'm biased. I usually prefer sci-fi to sword and sorcery. So I mean, Mass Effect 2 is probably one of my, if not the best game I've played ever. So I can't really.
I can back you up on that.
I think Mass Effect 2 is better than Witcher 3 as well.
Mass Effect 3.
Okay.
Since Mass Effect 2 is what I'm saying. So.
But I will say that I enjoyed it. I mean, none of the praise you gave it, I can disagree with. It's just, let's make sure we keep that ranking right.
Ray?
I think it's a pretty solid game. I'd rated it as an A, not an S. But in its genre, like if I'm rating it as a game
in its genre
period, it's definitely an A. In its genre, I'd definitely give it an S.
It won Game of the Year. I think this is the only game on here that won Game of the Year that year.
Did Breath of the Wild not win Game of the Year when Game of the Year came out?
Did it? I'm not sure. I think it. Hold on. I have my handy dandy list over here somewhere. Just give me a second.
It may not have. I mean, it came out in a pretty lit year, if I remember right, like with big ticket games.
Yeah.
2017, 2016, something like that.
2016 wasn't as lit as you think, honestly. If we're going back to look at it, it's great how we do this show that someone can actually go back and look at stuff real time.
As somebody who didn't play the other Witcher games, I think that them introducing you to the characters and the controls is really intuitive, right? And how they mix the magic system up. I enjoyed the whole training. I mean, all games have it, but the way they did it was really intuitive, and the way they worked into the story, I thought that was great. If you only watch the show, you could recognize certain characters and right away, which I thought was cool. And
I think it also has a lot of heart. That's the other thing I really like about Witcher 3 is it has like a lot of heart. Like a lot of games are sometimes becoming pretty nihilistic, and I think that Witcher 3's core relationship between Geralt and Ciri is really, really well done.
So I take it back.
Witcher 3
won Game of the Year.
Yeah, Witcher 3, like if you play it later on, like not at launch, Witcher 3 later on feels like a labor of love almost.
Yeah, it does. So I mean, I personally would put it S tier, but I mean, but A is fine.
Yeah, I think A is good for it.
I think everyone will put every single game that they put up here on S tier. They could.
All right, so your next game, Roy, is Civilization 5. Why is it here?
Well, it's actually 6. And that is
okay. All right.
So because it's the pinnacle of this type of strategy game. Like they've really distilled the core gameplay that goes all the way back to 1992 or whatever with the original Civilization, and then the sort of Civilization 4. I don't know, I won't bore people entirely with the history, but Civilization 4 was a pretty big break from the way they did things previously. And what Civilization 6 does is it combines that older style Civ game with the sort of modern decisions that they made starting with 4 into a really, 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 really excellent playable experience. And it's really the pinnacle of that type of, expand and conquer kind of gameplay.
What's that game called? Grand Strategy is what
Grand Strategy. Right? But it's a specific subgenre of Grand Strategy. The 4X. There we go.
Yeah, 4X
Grand Strategy. And yeah, so I would. This is actually a game that I'm willing to immediately say it's kind of like an A game, particularly because it is niche. But if you enjoy these kinds of strategy games, it is the pinnacle of this kind of a 4X strategy. It just
I cannot give you a proper rating on that because the last Civ game I played was 5, and I love Civ 5. I can't imagine it being worse than Civ 5. I think the only reason I haven't played 6 yet is because the person I like to start off as got added as DLC. That's also ridiculously expensive.
Who's that?
I like starting off as Pachacuni. He's the guy who gets his infantry get like extra movement in hills and mountains, and like they added him in Gathering Storm or whatever it was. And I'm like,
Expansion.
I'm not paying $30 for that.
Right, so you're not paying $80 or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not paying $80 just so I can play as the character I want to play as. So I'm waiting for like the price on the entire bundles come down a lot more than it is when it's on sale right now on Steam. Like I need it to be quite a bit lower than that, and then I'll pick it up and I'll see what it's like from there. But I can't imagine it being worse than Civ 5, and I really, really like Civ 5. In fact, in my opinion, Civ 5 is an S tier game. So I can't see how 6 would not be.
Okay. So I'll just put this out there. Roy, when you sent me your list, I don't know if you paid attention to it. It was actually Civilization 5.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yes.
I apologize. I'm sorry.
So are we arguing for Civ 5 or Civ 6? Because if it's Civ 5,
I don't think Civ 5 came out in the last 5 years. Let me double check.
Well, Anthony, do you have any thoughts on this?
I enjoy Civilization games. I have not played 6, but if they're telling me it's as good or better than 5, I can't argue. You know, I enjoy those games. But
yeah, 1 year too early. So
they're also time consuming for me because I will get lost.
Yeah, they are time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
They're games where like, in fact, I don't bother with the multiplayer aspect anymore because like I don't have any friends that have the time, or I don't have the time myself to sit down with friends. It's one of those games where I'll play for like an hour or 2 hours and then it's like, oh my god, it's 1 a.m. Go to bed, and then the next day I'll continue from where I left off and like, oh my god, it's 1 a.m. again.
Right. Mm-hmm. And as a matter of fact, I still have Civilization 2 on my phone as my busy thing when I get stuck someplace and I want to just play something out. Like I enjoy those games. So if y'all tell me that this is as good, then I gotta believe y'all.
Okay, so where would you put it?
I mean, it sounds like people are willing to put it at S, and
I feel like that's where it's going. Like, there it is. Next game for you, Roy, is Final Fantasy Remake.
Yeah, so this is a game that had it's easy to compare it, I think, to another game that had impossible expectations.
Yeah,
that came out this year, which is Cyberpunk. So Final Fantasy VII Remake had 20 years of expectation and want that people wanted around this, and what Square Enix actually managed to do is land it. And that blew my mind. Like the whole time I was playing it, I was expecting them to punt it for it to not be what I wanted, which is a remix of Final Fantasy VII that remains true to what I enjoyed about Final Fantasy VII, but brings it into the 21st century and learns about some of the storytelling mistakes and growth that people have done as storytellers over the last 20 years and really hits all of the notes in a way that's just, and literally, because the music is also perfect, that it just like creates this experience. It is, I think, the only game of its type that makes this kind of promise that it's going to be this updated nostalgic trip that actually delivers. And it's just so amazing. And people, like the point where the game became a meme before it came out, of it never actually existing. And the fact that they succeeded, and you can quibble about various aspects of it. And I mean, I would do a whole review show and talk about it, but like, because I have lots of strong opinions about it, but it's just such a success with years and years of hype and expectations. That it
wasn't Duke Nukem Forever.
It was not Duke Nukem Forever or Cyberpunk.
Oh, my God.
Or I'm trying to think of some other. I'm sure there's other ones that are, but
I'm gonna have to abstain from this one because I have not played it, and the original Final Fantasy VII is my second least favorite Final Fantasy game.
What?
Like
in a world, with 15 exists. Wow.
I haven't played 15, so 8 is my least favorite. 7 is my second least favorite. Like hard pass. Like so. Like I just had no interest whatsoever in the remake.
You have no vote.
You're remaking one of the games I dislike so much. I don't. That's okay. You can keep it. So I'm gonna have to abstain. Like I can't.
Okay, Anthony, it's up to you, man.
So this is my thing. As somebody who, like, as soon as I saw Final Fantasy commercial on Toonami in the '90s, I went and got, I saved up and got like a PlayStation and played the hell out of that game. I sat and broken the missile because I didn't have any guides or anything like that. Like, I've always felt like 10 years ago. Again, this is a time thing for me. 10 years ago, like maybe if I had the time, I'd have been excited about the game come out. But like I lived in that world. A lot of people I know were obsessed with that world.
Oh God.
Yeah. So we you couldn't get away from Final Fantasy for a while, like 7. Not, I'm not talking about all Final Fantasy because like, you know, I rocks with a lot of it, but so to me it was kind of like, all right, they're making a remake. So to me, if somebody who did play that game, who did explore every inch of that, well, until I met some other people who thought they explored every inch of that game, what do you say to me to invest my time into this remake or this updated version, I guess?
I would say that if you want to be with these characters again in a way that is true to that experience that you had 20 years ago or 15 years ago, however when it was, but also does so in a way that is surprising and does create new experiences and new memories with those characters, then Final Fantasy VII Remake, it does a really good job of being, on one hand, new and nostalgic in a way that a lot of other like nostalgia trip experiences don't do.
Also, another question. So I may bring up this. Is this game splitting up to 2 parts? Like, does
Multiple
this first game
parts.
finish? Huh?
This does not tell the whole story. It ends. I mean, it's not spoil. It ends when they leave Midgar. It's going to have multiple parts.
Wait, what?
They're gonna make you pay for it more times than you should. Is that what you want to hear?
I'm not laughing at your experience. I'm glad you had a great experience.
No. But here's the thing. But that's one of the things that's like, one of the things is it's not the same game, right? So the fact that it ends at Midgar makes sense for this game, which I was one of those people who's like, why does it not go all the way, right? But then I experienced it. I was like, oh, it makes sense why it ends at Midgar.
But to me, it sounds like it's like they stretched out the first hour of the PSX game into like 20 hours.
Right.
Well, longer than that.
And is it worth that extra? Is it worth that extra?
Yes.
Filler, I guess.
Yes.
I don't know. Like,
I wish KB was on here because he's one of the people that spoke really highly of this game. And hearing KB talk about this game, he would probably put this S tier. This just off the way he spoke about the game. But he's not here, so we can't go off his experience of him not being here. Anthony, you have the final say on this one. Where are you putting this game?
I'll put S tier. I mean, like, I know KB liked it a lot. You sound like you really enjoyed it. It's kind of weird to me to remake the Final Fantasy VII game and not finish the story in one game. Like, when is that happening? But you know, if you say it's worth it,
a way to expand or bringing new players and expand their experiences. I don't know. It seems interesting.
I think in my head, Final Fantasy VII is one of those games where it got mainstreamed. And so I got overloaded. And I love Cloud. But I think I got overloaded in the late 90s, 2000s with just so much of that the gland in my head to be excited, you have to do a lot for, you know, me to be excited about these. Like, well, no, and I will say this, like in Kingdom Hearts, when they showed up in Kingdom Hearts, I was like, oh, fuck, that's when Sephiroth stalks you in Kingdom Hearts, I was like, I felt it, right? That was a good use of those characters. So yeah, right. Opera music and shit. But like, if you, like I said, that gland in my brain that gets excited about it outside of something that gives me a unique experience with it it might be gone. So I might be biased.
I guess the point is, and like, I was very much in the same headspace you were. Like about like I was burnt out by all the like Advent Children and all the garbage spin-off games that came out. Like all that stuff. I was like, what? Like what the fuck? Like they've written this into the ground. And you know, but this came out at the beginning of the pandemic, and I saw the initial reviews, and they were like, "Wow, this is extremely different."
It was,
and I played it, and it overcame my own cynicism about where they had taken the franchise. I mean, part of it is like I am much more an experiential gamer, I guess, than you could say. Like I'm about connecting with the characters in the games that I play, and so it does a really good job of that. So, yeah, and
fair enough. If you say yes.
My thing is, I can't trust Tetsuya Nomura. Like, I just can't. Like almost every game he's released where he's been like at the helm, it's usually a game I don't like. I love the first Kingdom Hearts game so much, but then
Right.
like the second one came out, and I was like, oh, there we go. There's the Nomura I expected. You know, and like the third one came out, and I'd lost all will to play. Like 15
Wow.
came out. I didn't play 15 because he helmed that for such a long time. I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to get into this game. It's just going to reek of Nomura. It's the same thing that happened with 8, 7. Literally anything he touches and has like directorship powers over. I'm just like, you know what? That's enough. I'll pass.
It sounds like we should do a
that's
Final Fantasy rank cast.
that's why I can't vote on this because I'm super biased.
That's fair.
Well, we have this at an S tier. Your next game, Roy, is Crusader Kings 3.
Yeah, which is a
Is
grand.
that the right-
Yeah,
That's
Crusader
the right
Kings
one.
3. Yeah, it is the right one. I specifically do the new one that came out this year
Okay.
because it's just straight up better than Crusader Kings 2, which is the previous one. So this is another strategy game, but this is one that has mixing of role-playing elements. So you take control of a royal family in Europe. So you can play as like the Spanish royal family. Well, it's Europe, Central Asia, and North and West Central Africa. So it goes around the Horn and sort of cuts off before you really get into real Southern Africa. And so you can play as any royal family in all of Europe, all of Central Asia, up to the Chinese border, and that includes India. And each of these characters has traits, and then you can manipulate these traits through playing the game, which is a mix of both fighting wars, but also like events that go on. Like your courier did this. Well, how would you respond? And you can shape your character. So it's one part a strategy game, which is about managing resources and growing your kingdom and conquering shit, and also a role-playing game in the sense that you can get invested in what your characters do. Because when your character dies, if they have an heir of their dynasty, you continue the game and you play as your character's son or daughter, and you can go multiple generations for about 600 or 700 years. And yeah, it's just a really, really good mix of strategy game content and role-playing elements where you can really invest in this dynasty that you're building across multiple generations. And you can play the game completely seriously and, try to build the best empire, or you can play it incredibly goofily because there's, you can do famously Crusader Kings 3 is very 2 and now 3 is very memey because you can marry your sister and do all kinds of like ridiculous shit and see what happens to your dynasty and things like that. So it is a really, really powerful experiential game that allows you to play where you want to play it. Do you want to be the serious tryhard, or do you want to be the goofball, or somewhere in between, which is more like how I play it? And yeah, it's just the pinnacle, I think, of kind of strategy games. And
I've only ever played the first game. I never played 2, and like I've never played this. I played the first game, and it didn't really. I didn't get the bug off of it. It didn't bite me. So like I just never had any interest in playing the second or the third. As such, I can't give a rating on this because I have no idea how much better they are than the first game.
I've never played the first one, so I can't say how bad or good the first one is.
So back in the day, like in the 90s, there was a game that was on PCs and you played as a kingdom and you had to trade and declare alliances and awards and whatnot. And I love that game. I can never remember. I every once in a while it comes up.
Lord of the Realm?
What's that?
Lord of the Realm?
Oh, that might be it. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Well, I'm not going.
Lord of the Realm 2 is the one that most people played. I definitely played the fuck out of that game.
And I love that game. I never found a game that I didn't know of a game that was like that. You're describing this to me, and I looked up the trailer while you were talking. I am actually very excited to play this.
It really is worth it. And famously, the company that makes these games, Paradox, the games are very inaccessible, but they did an amazing job with the tutorial in this one. And they've all Paradox Interactive, yeah. And they also cut that, like they put a lot of the systems behind interfaces, so it's much easier to understand things than if you played Crusader Kings 2. And the other thing is, you can very much, it's Game of Thrones the game, because you could do all that court politics that people loved about Game of Thrones in a game setting. And there's also a Game of Thrones mod that's going to be coming out soon. So.
Oh wow!
Well, if the quality is up there with City Skylines, which I absolutely love, then yeah, it's got to be a good game.
Okay, so Anthony,
I can't give a ranking, but I'm excited.
this is you, man. I guess
I can't rank it.
I mean, it's gotta be S. Like, I mean, this game came out in October. Let me tell you how many hours I put in it. Give me 1 second.
Let's go.
Library. Crusader Kings 3. 119 hours. And it
That's
came
a
out in
good game.
October.
That's a good game then. I mean, and your last game is Persona 5.
Yep. Persona 5 is just the pinnacle of modern JRPGs.
It was also
Really?
it was also nominated for
Hold
Game
up.
of the Year.
I need to challenge you here for a second. Like, have you ever played the Xenoblade games?
I have Xenoblade. I played Xenogears way back in the day.
Right.
And I've watched people play Xenoblade, the one with the sword, Amato, or whatever it's called.
The first one, yes.
Yes,
Well,
I have not
actually, the first
seen
and
or
the third
played
one.
X. So I don't really have strong opinions, but everything I've seen, like watching YouTube videos, watching friends play, watching Twitch streams, have not made me like want to play them.
Interesting.
So,
Interesting. I've the last Persona I played was 2, so like I have no idea what 5 is like. Like
Persona
2 was when I
Persona
tapped out.
3 was nominated for Game of the Year in 2017. So it's up there.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, there's been a big jump. Like Persona 3 combined a bunch of like it's a traditional JRPG with this is the most reductivist approach. It's a traditional JRPG with a visual novel gameplay stapled on top of it. So there's relationship building mechanics into it alongside, fighting monsters and dungeons and stuff. And that was started in 3, and then they've just been refining those systems through 4, and then 5 they've just refined it to a T. It's also one of the best, like not graphics in the sense of like, Spider-Man's graphics, but like on a graphic design level, like the menus and the way the menus flow and the font decisions, like it's just everything is smooth. It's just such a smooth, distilled experience. So if you enjoy JRPGs and JRPG tropes, it is an amazing, amazing, amazing experience that I can't help but recommend. I loved it.
All right.
Now, what's the gameplay like? Well, combat like?
Combat is turn-based, and it's a weakness-based system. So it's about finding the weaknesses of your enemies and using the right skills against them.
Oh, that's
all right.
And then doing combos with that.
I can't go back to turn-based unless it's an SRPG.
No, it's like the RPG, but it's very fast for turn-based because it's combo-based. So
where are we ranking this game? I'll ask Anthony.
Again, I'm biased. One of my rivals loves this game and Slayer, so I don't watch or play this. So,
you have to rank this.
Must be talking about Marcus.
D.
Okay.
Like D because Marcus likes it.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
Fine.
I tried to warn you.
Nah,
So now you gotta do the average. You gotta split the average. I guess it's a C.
Wow. Wow.
It's so unfair. That's cold.
So cold.
I regret giving you the final say. I mean, don't worry about that because I'm next, and I'm pretty sure we'll have a couple DD games, so don't worry. My first game, honestly, is Arkham Knight, and this is so. Hold on. Let me explain why I thought it was the game. It should have been that game because what happened was I didn't play the Batman games when they launched. Right, this is the only game I played at launch, and I played I was hearing about this game, and I knew it was going to drop. So I played every game back to back, and then I think it's the hype, right? It's playing was it Asylum, and then this game, and I was like, oh my god, I can't wait for the next one to come out, and that's where I played this game, and I wasn't disappointed because I was still eating off the hype. I was buying all the DLCs. I have the BVS Batmobile. I have the suit. I have a 2008 Dark Knight Rises. I have the what's the tank? I have that. Like I was so excited for this game, and we got to play as a Nightwing for maybe what, like
Yeah.
5 minutes. You know, so it
Unfortunately,
wasn't
they put him in
just,
this game.
huh?
So it's unfortunate they put him in this game.
I know. It wasn't just about
He not a
Batman.
DLC character in the second one? I thought he was.
Yeah, there is an actual DLC where you get to play as the Robins, I think.
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, you get to play
In
as the,
two.
yeah, I think it's 2. Yeah, at the end of it, you know, when you kill the Joker, whatever, you get to play as the Robins moving forward. So yeah, like, you know, again, coming from those games, playing those games back to back to playing this, I didn't think like, oh, it was nothing. It was the same game to me. I was super happy about it, and I think based off that experience is why I have this game in here as one of the games of the year.
I'm not. I'm definitely not gonna put this game in S or A tier. Not B tier is even a stretch for me. To be quite honest.
Wow.
I think I have a hard time deciding which is worse between this and Origin. And like,
Oh,
actually,
come on.
I'm gonna have to give it to this because this was unplayable for me for a long time. I
What?
couldn't play it on. I had the PC version.
Oh.
Like it performed
Right.
absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
Horrendously. Like the Batmobile sections are not fun at all, you know. And by the time this game came out as well, from my perspective, like the combat of the series had worn thin. Like I know a lot of people like the combat from the first 2 games and like how it's basically that Assassin's Creed combat, right? You mash one button and then you mash a counter button just at the right time to do something Batman like. By the time this game came out, it's one of those situations where you're like, is that it? Still, that's it. You know, like it didn't bring anything new to the table for its gameplay mechanics.
That's fair.
It didn't evolve. I've already played this game 3 times before. That's what it felt like to me. Like the only reason to play this game, in my opinion, is for the story. You've played the first 2 or 3 games, you already know what this game has to offer.
Roy?
I also think the first 2 games are legitimately better games.
Yeah, from my point of view, like I'm not like the hugest fan of the gameplay in these games. I enjoyed 2 a lot. That's the only one I beat. And then when the pandemic started, I was like, I'm in this mood to play superhero game. I already beat Spider-Man. Miles isn't out yet. So, I've got PlayStation now. I'm going to play this one. And I was ready for it. I'd heard that the story is really good. And then I got to the Batmobile sequence. And I was supposed to make the Batmobile go from the top of the train to the building. And I couldn't do it. And I said, and then I looked and I was like, oh, there's tons more of this. And then it was like, there's also all these Riddler challenges, which involves a bunch of the Catwoman storyline. I was like, well, but Catwoman's one of my favorite Batman supporting characters. So I have to put up with this fucking terrible driving mechanic. And to interact with one of my favorite characters, I have to fucking do more of the driving mechanic. Fuck that. I am not doing this. And I thought this was the worst driving in a game I have ever experienced until I played Cyberpunk. And then we got Cyberpunk. So Cyberpunk dethroned this game with like worse driving controls. And that was really frustrating because I wanted to enjoy this game and enjoy its story, but it's trapped by just shitty driving mechanics that are shoehorned in. And that's why, like, I can definitely not make it like S or A tier because I think it just fails on a game design level there. But I mean, I've heard that the story is like really, really good, and it really does pay off all the previous Batman games.
The only reason to play this game is for the story. Like gameplay
story
wise,
is actually really
it
great.
doesn't bring anything new to the table, and it has a stupid driving mechanic that's like really laborious. So
because you have to chase Firefly at some point, and you have to do it in the. I'm not gonna lie, that's kind of annoying.
Giving this game a B is hard. Like if it wasn't, if you didn't think this was a game of the year or whatever, and you just asked me what I would rate this game, I'm like, that's a C game. Wow. Like to be quite honest, like I'd give this game a C.
So I'm a big fan of the Arkham series 1 and 2. I skipped Origins. There was no point for me in doing Origins. And then this game came out, and can I tell you that the hype? And I'm telling you how big a fan I am is that I collected all the Riddler trophies. Right? I never usually feel like I need to do those things in in games a lot. I'm not one of those people.
Yeah, we see her. I mean, do we see her?
I see.
Him?
Whoops.
Oh wait, you gotta go. Oh,
And then this game
The door-
came, right? And it
Sorry,
says
the door
you're
was
finally
open,
going
I
to
was
be
yelling.
you're finally going to be able to have the Batmobile, and that was the big hype. And then you play it, and then you have so many tank missions, and you have so many Riddler puzzles that were, because of the camera angles, they were almost impossible to do the first time through, and it came like a speed bump. It felt like you're trying to get your degree in IT, but they keep making you take historical French and music appreciation to graduate. And that's and it was some really great. There were some really great moments between Mark Hamill's Joker and Batman that I would say I put him up there as some of the best moments, right, of anything, of any medium. But then you would have Deathstroke's coming for his revenge, but he's going to fight you in a tank. Did anybody want to fight Deathstroke in a tank? No. And it felt like they were forced to put the Batmobile in as many situations as possible, and it just wasn't fun. It was a slog. And
I mean, because they opened the city up, like, because the first game was an asylum, the second game was Arkham. Was it
Like
Arkham
half of
City?
the city or whatever.
Yes, half of the city, and then the next game they literally opened up, and you have to traverse the city. It's not Spider-Man.
And if
where
it was just you could use the Batmobile to travel the way you wanted to travel instead of like gliding or flying or the Batwing, that'd have been fine. But those tank things became annoying, and you had to do the same exact thing every single time to beat them, and it became a drag, right? So it took any enjoyment away from the storyline for me a lot of places, or even the ending or the surprise ending or anything like that. And it was really, it was just really disappointing overall. And it's a shame because we finally got the Batmobile, and they took all the fun out of having the Batmobile. And I think that what was the PlayStation 1 game where you're a ninja and you stuck around and you could throw like Tenchu. I've been waiting for another Tenchu game forever, and the Batman stuff has been my fix for that, right? And not a perfect fix, but like using different gadgets to do things and or just disappearing. Like, who doesn't want to be Batman? And this was a game they told us was going to be number 1 of the year. And they thought they could tell us what we were going to like or not. And yeah. And also, even the downloadable content wasn't as good as the other games, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's disappointing. I'm going to say C. Okay. I think it's an A. But
and definitely to combine what I think Ray and Ant are saying there is I think that the only new thing that this game brought to the formula was the Batmobile. And so they felt like, because they wanted to make it feel like it wasn't just because they had just done Origins, which was basically a reskin of 2. And
they didn't do Origins. I think a different company
did, but they'd released Origins, right?
Yeah.
And so the only new thing they brought was the Batmobile, and that doubling down on that, I think, was just a critical design mistake that just like undoes so much of the hard work they did to pay off 3 to 4 other games that had come out previously, which everyone who tells me who's beaten it says it does. And that's so frustrating about the game.
And
it actually really does.
And this is the other thing. We brought up bringing the other characters in. If you're going to bring the Bat family into the third game, let them be able to be played through the whole fucking game, right?
Well,
let me be Nightwing. Let me be Nightwing. And let me have to play differently playing Nightwing than I do Batman. Let me play differently being Tim than I have to be, don't just give me a mission or a stage or anything. Open me up to the whole, you know what I mean? Like they had a great DLC for Batgirl. Let me play Batgirl through the whole game and let me have to play differently than I have to do the other character. You know what I mean? I might not be making sense, but
no.
I get what you're saying.
They made that game. It's coming out next year.
Yeah, it's coming out next year. The next game on the list is Titanfall 2. This was one of the first games when I got the Xbox One S, because I had the Xbox One and then I got the Xbox One S and I played this game and I was like in love with it. I played Titanfall and I was excited about Titanfall, but this one for some reason just for me it blew Titanfall out the park. Being able to do missions, having a campaign game before you can go play the online the online or multiplayer experience it's a big deal for me because I came from playing Halo, on the Xbox, and I like to, I like to feel out the game a little bit before I go play with anybody else. And this game gave me that. I don't. Did anyone else play Titanfall?
All right, I'll give Titanfall 2 this. Like Titanfall 2 is a decent game. I think the campaign has some really really good high points. One of the things that I like is that they weren't afraid to introduce new mechanics for like one stage and then throw it away. Like my favorite stage had like the time travel thingamajig,
Yeah.
where you'd be in one time, you'd be getting attacked, and then you could jump back into the past to like jump on platforms that existed in the past, but then there are like a different set of enemies also there, like attacking you or whatever. Like I thought that was brilliant design. I wish more games did things like that, but like that was like one stage. They did that and they threw it away after that. And it's like I appreciate the fact they were willing to experiment. It's overall a solid game, but definitely not one I could put in S tier. Like it's an A tier game for me personally.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I love if I can pilot a mech. You kind of got me. I started. If I could feel like a mech pilot, I'm feeling cool. I played the shooter Apex Legends just because it was set in the same world as Titanfall, right? So I enjoyed it, but I think it's more of a niche thing. Is it one of my go-to relaxation games? No. So I gotta go B. Yeah.
I think I'd be able to elevate Titanfall 2 if like at the start of the game, like they give you the little training mission where like you're like running on walls and shooting stuff or whatever.
And
you don't really get to experience that in the game. You're either platforming or you're shooting stuff. There weren't many situations where you were platforming and shooting stuff to make sense. Like that would have elevated the amount of fun I was having versus a jumping puzzle.
And I think when you've grown playing Mech Warrior, it's kind of hard to play a mech game and not compare like customization and stuff like that.
I mean,
I'm saying my own bias. I'm not saying it's fair, but
I absolutely see and appreciate and understand that bias. But like 99% of the time, if a game has a mech in it, I'm gonna play it. It doesn't have to be like Mech Warrior or Armored Core, which God, I can complain about that, but that's a different subject.
I'm saying I can my own personal gauge of like this is good, but I wish I could like you know what I mean? Like
I wish I could swap out these guns for guns that I use for my style of playing.
Right. Or hey, can I get a whole bunch of heat sinks in my feet in the lake?
That's what I did. That's what I did in Mech Warrior. Put all the heat sinks in the lake, put a whole bunch of lasers in the arms, stand up puddle and shoot everybody down.
So it's a little hard, but I definitely go B because it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad by any stretch.
Actually, I have to take something out. Yeah, let's do that. I made a mistake. Yeah, I made a mistake.
Origins got murdered.
Yeah, because
game is that?
Assassin's Creed Origins.
Because I played none of the Assassin's Creed games, so I don't know anything about it.
Oh my god! I wanted to be on this list, but it also was 2018. Hold on, let me make sure.
It's definitely
I missed the first two.
No,
that's no longer worth me jumping in anymore.
Yes, it's on there. It's on there. Definitely on there. I'm sorry.
You can definitely. I mean, like Origins, Odyssey, and the new one that just came out. Valhalla are all kind of self-contained. Like you don't super need to know a lot from.
Yeah, you don't have to have previous experience with Assassin's Creed games, and that's why I like Origin is the first Assassin's Creed game that actually opens up the world to you. And it actually has you doing stuff in world, and it actually has you building a posse or an army. Forget Black Flag happened, right? We should all forget that happened. That didn't happen. This is the better game right here, Assassin's Creed Origins, and I think if Origins didn't exist, we wouldn't get Odyssey and we wouldn't get Valhalla. I think Valhalla.
I can't rate this game because I haven't played this game. Like,
What?
Got
All
no
right,
reference.
before we go, remember that whole thing I was talking to you about the combat of Arkham Asylum being?
Oh yeah, how it feels very
massive?
Assassin's Creed. Yeah, you
I
said
own,
that.
I own every Assassin's Creed up until like Black Flag came out.
Forget Black
and
Flag. It didn't come out.
Doesn't matter. I haven't played it. I own them all. Like I don't
But
remember
you
when I
never
don't
played
remember
them?
yes, I don't remember when I bought them all, but like I got them all and I was like, I'm gonna play Assassin's Creed. And oh my god, I still haven't beaten the first game. Like it's not a very complex game, but it's just the gameplay is tedious to me. Assassin's Creed gameplay, if that is the theme, the remainder of the games follow, where it's
I think
blend into
Mhm.
crowds and hide. If you get caught, either run away or fight and then hit the counter at the right time, and then like if that's what the meat of the gameplay is, I can't get into it.
No, because Origins does the big thing where it's much more of an action RPG these
Yes.
days than the kind of like half-ass stealth meets
it's
combo
not,
fighter that the
yeah.
first four
Okay.
I guess
All
were.
right.
Like 3 starts to break that a little bit too.
Yeah, 3
Like,
starts to break it. And
I keep going. I need to beat this game so I can play the second one. But every time I load it up, it's gonna like.
I think if you play the first 2, I think the first one is absolutely phenomenal. Then the second one, and then 3, you might get a little tired of Assassin's Creed, and I did take a break for a little bit, and then I played Black Flag. And
What you're telling me is, I'm not terribly fond of the first one, and it gets worse.
I just said you're gonna get tired.
So my advice would be, if you like want to like see where Assassin's Creed is now, I would buy
Origins.
or do Origins or Odyssey, like when they're on
My
sale.
other favorite IP mention.
Yes, my wife is the Assassin's Creed player here.
Yes. So where do you rank Assassin's Creed Origins?
Where would you put Assassin's Creed Origins? S, A, B, C, or D? I think Odyssey would be the one I would put on here, but over Origins. But
no, I put Origins. It's an A game.
A, she says A is where she would put Origins. But my advice would just be like, because like I don't play them, I watch her play them. But like it's like they're and I didn't know a lot of Assassin's Creed like lore. So like if you're interested to see where the franchise is right now and you enjoy like history, just pick which of those 3 historical eras is most interesting to you, like Roman Egypt, ancient Greece or Vikings.
Vikings, yeah.
And just buy, and like when it's on sale, buy it and try it.
Yeah, it was on Thanksgiving sale, and and I was mad, and I picked up a couple DLCs for Origins, and I'm gonna go through it again. I loved it. I'm gonna go through it again. Next on the list. Okay, and this is why I thought I was taking Origin stuff. I thought that was Odyssey for a second, but next on there's no way I could have put Odyssey on the list with Red Dead Redemption and Spider-Man, because I think it all came out that same year with Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption, and I think what other game came out that year too? God of War. Who did the list? So Red Dead Redemption 2. Come on. No?
I remember playing
I wasn't really asking you because I know you don't like it.
I played Red Dead Revolver. I didn't play Red Dead Redemption. I didn't play Red Dead Redemption 2 because, like, my perception is Grand Theft Auto with horses.
Oh no, it's not. Though.
So could I chime in a little bit?
Go ahead.
Red Dead Redemption. I never played Red Dead Redemption 1. I did play 2. I played the fuck out of 2. 2 is such a good experience. It's such like history and knowledge into it, and just like the details. And you can go exploring in that game and never even touch the story, and just it's just and still have stories. You can find little stories that you didn't even know was gonna like you never had to do. I gotta say, Red Dead Redemption 2 is probably one of the best experiences I've had playing a game, and I still haven't finished it because I do it when I just want to zone out and play that game, and I try to stay away from the story as much as possible until I get to a point where it's like, all right, let me go check in and do a little bit more. I have no interest on the online. I know some friends that say they like the online, and some others.
Online experience is amazing.
So that's cool. Just as far as a story and how I can just spend time hunting, I do feel bad when I kill a rare creature that's only one of, but like, I like all the characters, the dialogue, the music, the historical references, even the songs, even the old songs they bring back up for the game. Like, I'm not even a Western person, but this is it's a really great experience. I mean, the amount of time and detail they put into that game, it is. If they were shooting for the top spot, they earned it. They earned it, in my opinion.
Roy?
My Western game is Fallout New Vegas.
Yeah, I mean, it's just mostly like I'm not super fond of like Western games, particularly ones that play the West straight. I just like I don't. Yeah, it's just a genre that I'm not super fond of. I think I've gotten an argument about Westerns in our chat actually. And I also am not a fan of the core gameplay loops of GTA style games, so I've just never played it. But I've heard the people who enjoy those kind of games, like it's probably, I think people have said it's like the best of those, like of the GTA. It's better than 5, right? Or 6, the more recent one.
Look, this is what I'm gonna say. When you get bounties on your head, it was one time when I accidentally got a bounty on my head while I was hunting another bounty, and this posse came after me, right? And I just snuck on top of a hill while the posse stops and looks for you. And I looked down, they had the dogs and everything. I was like, oh man, they're going to catch me. I might lose my bounty. Let me just drop some dynamite on them and blew them up. And the dogs came, and then I don't know, you run into some crazy old man, and he might talk this, or you can sit there and play poker all night. Like
there is this crazy old man. And this is what kind of took the game to a point for me, right? There's this guy. You go by his place. And I don't know if you guys have seen this online, but you go by his place. He invites you in. You get really drunk.
And his wife? About the one with the wife?
No. This is this old guy on a hill. You get really drunk, and you wake up the next morning disoriented, and that's how I'm gonna say it.
Oh, you get roofied a lot in the game. One, this husband and wife try to roofie you, and then they eat you.
Yes,
I don't know about
eat you, but this guy, this is different. And then you find the KKK. You have to
that's satisfying.
That felt great for me. But yeah, so I mean, Anthony, it's on you, man.
No, I would put this S and above. Like the time they put into this game, I can't even be mad. I wasn't even really interested in playing this game. Like I really wasn't. But you can play the type of character you want to play within. I don't know. This game is amazing. It's amazing.
All right.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. My next game is Sekiro Die Twice. Shadow Die Twice. I think my last 2 games are almost like kind of similar, where it's very genre driven, samurai genre driven. So,
Sekiro is by From Software, right?
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it's a Soulsborne game, correct?
Mm-hmm.
When you die, does it take you all the way back to like your last bonfire, and then you have to go back and get all your stuff in? Yeah, that's a D for me, buddy.
It was fun though, and I think you're right. A lot of people did complain about that because I think it could have been Game of the Year. A lot of people complained that the gameplay was a little too difficult and too tedious, and if you did die,
that's the thing. There's a huge difference between tedious and difficult. This game sounds like it's both difficult and tedious, like all the Soulsborne games, and that's a no from me, dog. Like nah. Like I like difficult games. I love difficult games. I can't stand tedious games.
Okay, well, the other guys left, so you call it a D.
They did leave.
Yeah, so we'll leave it at a D for now till they get back. And my 2020 game of the year is actually the game I'm playing right now, Ghost of Tsushima. Again, this is the most gorgeous. I'm playing it on PS5. It's a PS4 game. But this is the most gorgeous game I've ever seen in my life. The landscape. Oh, Anthony's back. Did you ever play Sekiro?
No, I was listening. I got nothing to add. I never played it. I don't have anything to add.
I gave Sekiro a D out of the gates, like Roy. Wow.
Yeah, I heard it. That was
funny. This is exactly what I asked him. I said, it's a difficult game. When you die, just take you all the way back to like wherever, and then you have to walk all the way back through all the difficult things and get your stuff back. He goes, yes, that's a D for me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I like difficult. I told him I like difficult games. I don't like tedious games. This is difficult and tedious. That's not fun
Right.
for me.
And it's not fun where you feel like you when you have games like that, you don't feel like you accomplished something. You felt like you got through something. You know, like there's no sense of accomplishment. It's like, all right, I got through this next level. I gotta do this shit again. This kind of game make you quit halfway through
Well,
because like I'm not
it
going
also
back.
is interesting because then it helps you actually be a better person a better player in this game where you have to start looking for the counter strike. So you have to start making sure you watch your stamina versus your enemy stamina. Like these that's
Like I said, I don't mind a game being difficult. I mind the game being
all right. So we're
tedious.
just gonna leave it at D then. Let's not. The next game on the list, my last game, is Ghost of Tsushima. I'm actually playing it right now, and I was saying it's one of the most gorgeous looking games I've ever seen in my life. It's a PS4 game. I'm currently playing on PS5, and again, it is the most gorgeous game in my life. And it uses your dual sense controller. You got a PS4 is DualShock, right?
DualShock.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fully uses your dual sense controller where you want to follow the winds, and so you swipe up on your dual sense, you call the winds, and it's just beautiful to look at. The controls are not difficult. The fighting is not difficult. It's not tedious. When you do die, you don't go all the way back and pick up all your stuff. It's so good looking. Like everything in the game feels lush. Like everything feels like it should. It just it almost feels very real. Like I'm playing because I got this when I got the PS5. I hadn't played Spider Man yet, and I was just trying to I was trying to kill some time before I play Spider Man, and I was like, oh my god, I don't want to put this down. Like it kind of felt like it was a fight. It was a struggle to put it down to pick up Spider Man because I did want to go through Spider Man, and I feel like this is a game that should have been Game of the Year for this year. But I'm again not
That's a hard disagree. It's a
no
hard
not
disagree.
arguing. Hold on, not arguing that it was definitely nominated for Game of the Year. It was, but I feel like out inside of The Last of Us winning, this is a game that could have won this year. And I have two games in
All right.
2020 that could have been Game of the Year because Miles Morales should be on this list, but it's not because it's a shorter form of it's a DLC. It's not a full game. But honestly, if you play through the game, if the things we said for Spider-Man, the story, gameplay, are the reasons why Spider-Man is an A-tier game, Miles Morales is a full. It's a full experience of a Spider-Man game. It's not, even though it's a shorter game, right?
Yeah.
But Ghost of Tsushima, I'm sorry, should have been Game of the Year. Last of Us had a lot of what I don't know why it won, but playing through Last of Us won.
I can tell you that when you get done.
Right, Roy. It's definitely that because it should definitely be Ghost of Tsushima and not because again,
Hard disagree. Hard disagree.
I want to hear it.
I think the only thing Ghost of Tsushima has to me over Last of Us is that
It's a better story.
It has better art direction. That's the only thing I can give it. Like, I don't feel the gameplay is better. I don't feel the story is better. I don't think the graphics are better.
Oh,
and there's a huge difference between graphics and art direction.
Okay.
Just so you're
aware.
I don't think the graphics are better. Like the only thing in my book that it beats The Last of Us at is art direction.
Well, I mean, that's not really hard because Last of Us, they just took a bunch of storyboards rejected from The Walking Dead and said, this is what we're going to do for our video game.
Like, I can understand people not liking The Last of Us, torture porn, etc., etc. But it doesn't change the fact that it's still like even if you remove the story from it and just did took the actually that's an option in the game. Like you can actually play each individual encounter after you beat the game. The gameplay loops and how great those encounters are, fucking top notch, phenomenal in my opinion.
So you played Ghost?
I played Ghost. I can't say the same about Ghost. Now, Ghost is not a bad game. In fact, Ghost is a great game, but I will never think it's better than The Last of Us 2. I can't think it's better. it's not to me.
That's fair, Roy.
I mean, it's just not my style of game. But I mean, if
Okay.
I'm given a choice between whether or not Last of Us or Ghost should be Game of the Year, I'll definitely give it to Ghost just because of my dislike of the genre and
Right. So
of
let's,
Last of Us, and
so
also
so it's an S tier game. Thank you.
Wow.
Ant,
Don't have an opinion.
you don't? Damn it.
No, haven't played.
So
Ghost.
it's an S tier game then.
Wow.
I mean, it's a relatively. I think it could fall under A, like if we're there, because it's slightly more niche than some of our other choices that
right.
and it maybe
Yeah,
doesn't overcome its nicheness. So
I think it's a great game, but again, I have more than 2 games that I would rate above it for Game of the Year. So like, I can't see a game that has like 3-4 games above it in S tier.
All right. But okay, so at the bottom, our honorable mentions, God of War, The Last of Us 2, Tomb Raider, which I'm such a Tomb Raider whore, and that's the only reason why it's on there. The Rise of the Tomb Raider and Spider-Man Miles Morales. Again, you guys haven't played Miles Morales yet, but seriously, if you played on a PS5, Performance RT. No, honestly, listen to me. Performance RT on the PS5.
I can play it right now. I can play it right now on a PS4, but
don't.
I'm waiting till whenever it is I get a PS5 to play.
Same.
I will tell you, I had the opportunity to watch it on a PS4 for like a couple minutes, and then I saw it on a PS5, and I was like, on the PS5 Performance RT, and I was like, I'll wait. But when you again, if we're gonna talk story, like we said, Spider-Man had an amazing story that can make it an entire movie. Miles Morales has a story that can make it a full game, but I guess because of the time it sat in development or the time they were developing it for it felt like, let's just get it out, or let's just. I don't know what it was, but Miles Morales should have definitely been a full game. If I wouldn't mind if they had, because I was one of the people that were like, yo, they're really gonna make someone buy a PS5 for like 4 hours of gameplay, right? Because they call it a standalone, or no, expandalone, and I'm like, that doesn't even make sense. But when you play it, you're like, crap. I would wait if Sony had said in the near future we got Spider-Man Miles Morales coming. I would wait just based off the Spider-Man game. I think that's what they should have done. But I guess it does help move units when you when you say, "Hey, we have this for you." But honestly, I feel like if it was a little longer, there's nothing stopping it from being Game of the Year. It looks great. Performance RT plays great. The swing mechanics are different because of the different Spider-Man. The exaggerated swagger of a black team.
Swagger of a black team.
The Last of Us 2, I'm playing The Last of Us 1. If it's anything as good as what I'm playing, I can see it. I'm not.
I can't say anything about it until you beat the game. In my opinion, like if I didn't put Alex up there, like if I hadn't played Alex this year, it would be The Last of Us 2 for me. Like absolutely for me. Like,
well, I haven't played Last of Us 2.
Like,
And that's my
there's nothing I love more than a game that I both enjoy playing and a game that, like, at the end I put the controller down and I just stare off into space for a while, like, huh.
Right.
I have to contemplate after the fact and think about all the things that I experienced and try to break down what the people who made the game were trying to get across. There's nothing I love more than that. Very few games do that.
Okay. And then God of War, another honorable mention.
Yeah. It was very hard. Sorry, don't mean to cut you off. It was very hard for me to pick between Spider-Man and God of War for that year. Really
after playing through Spider-Man, I can definitely see why.
The thing to also say is I didn't play either of those games the year they came out. I played both of them last year. My son was born last year, and doing that entire potato stage where like he's not doing much but sleeping or whatever. Like I'd be playing Spider-Man or God of War, and like as a new dad, like if a movie has a father and son thing or a game has a father and son thing, like that's an
It's
automatic
your fault.
B for me, and then I'll
Right.
rate the movie on from there. Like it's an like because I had such a good relationship with my dad, and now I'm also a dad. Like automatically, like I'm all in, and like God of War just like hit me hard.
Okay.
So I think that's another thing that when you're in different stages of your life, because like now when you're a dad, your time isn't as like open as it used to be, right?
Yeah.
So I really appreciate games like Overwatch or Dead by Daylight where I can just jump in, play around or a match or something, and jump back out. You know what I mean? And that's a real important because like, I think I mentioned a couple of times, like time is a big factor now. Like how much is this going to be? Because my time is at a premium. Like I need to invest in something that's going to be, which is why I don't really buy a lot of games when they first come out, unless someone tells me these are real. Like, no, you need to check this out, man. Like I'm probably not going to waste my time with a game until
pick up Spider-Man and Miles Morales if you have a chance.
As far as I'm concerned, Spider-Man's also a father and son story.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it is actually.
Yeah.
When you play through all of it is.
Like all of that just resonates with me. Father and son stories, like they just wreck me.
Yeah, so that is the list, fellas. Game of the year for the last 5 years. Each of our 5 best, so each of our games from the last 5 years. We'll drop it.
Who's got the most games in S?
It doesn't matter. That's not what we're doing.
I want to find out.
Yeah, but yours are negated by the Final Fantasy, Ray. You got a 0 for that Final Fantasy 7. So
not me, not Ray. So different R. I got the O, not the A. So
I got the D tier game on the list, and that's because no one else played.
I'm the only person that rated it. No one else rated it.
So there should be no D games here. So I'll just go ahead and it's a grading. It was a 69.5. Why not just hey, why?
It's going to be the average. It's not going to be a D. I picked D. You picked S. It's not going to be a D if you average it.
But this is what I'll say. Thanks, fellas. Your variety of interests had helped me decide some games I'm going to look at to see. I'm really excited about.
I hope anyone watching also, like Anthony said, can like look at the games list and say, hey, I didn't play this. Let me pick this up. I don't know why I didn't play Spider-Man, but I should probably pick it up. I don't know who didn't play Spider-Man that year. Everybody played.
People who only own Xboxes.
I only played it last year. I only played it last year.
Factors that said pick up a PS5 was I have to see what everyone was talking about because I didn't get how the game came out and everyone thought it was already better than Red Dead. I'm like, all you're doing is swinging through the city. And then I played it.
No.
You're right. I didn't
never say that about a Spider-Man game. I would never. Again,
on my Xbox One S, I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm playing Red Dead. It doesn't really matter. I'm playing Red Dead. I'm cool. I'm a cowboy. I really wanted cowboy boots. But after playing Spider-Man, after playing Spider-Man, I played Spider-Man in like a week. I didn't want to put it down, and I was like, wow.
So this just makes it sound like we should move Spider-Man from A to S.
It really does. It really does.
I thought it was an S.
Yeah,
no, it's A.
No, I called it an S. I don't know why I got A.
No.
A lot of games.
Yeah, you guys gave me a lot to think about, and things I'm going to pick up, especially Crusader 3 and Life is Strange. I'm really looking forward to those titles. So
right.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot.
I hope you enjoy Life is Strange. Like one of the good things about Life is Strange is like I want to hear you talk about it after you play it.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right. Thank you very much, fellas. Thank you very much. And thank you very much. Wow, this is probably the last ranking show for the year. So thank you very much, Roy. Thank you very much, Ray, Anthony. Whenever you can.
I'm going to be drunk in the next couple of days. So yeah, this is my
last. Yeah, no, it's okay. We're done ranking shows for the year.
All
right. Thank you very much for hanging with us all year round. It's 2020 has been tough. I mean, City Project Red. What's up? It's really good. Like, how you guys gonna act? Because this is sponsored, but it's not sponsored by City Project.
I reckon that game will be very, very good in about a year.
I know, and we're gonna probably do this show again, and it's like, oh my god, Cyberpunk 2078 is the best game.
The DLC
Right, just like the DLC for Spider-Man is Miles Morales. But yeah, no, thank you guys for coming. Thank you guys for being, part of the Earth 2 Ranks Everything cast.
I'm surprised no one brought up Animal Crossing.
It was like a super hit.
I mean, my wife played, I don't know, 300 hours of it over the summer.
Yeah,
So,
it was.
It's cool. Like, I mean, if you love that style of game,
Yeah.
it's definitely like
Wasn't
the
it
best.
like the game of the pandemic?
It was for at least the like.
My wife played it a lot too, but like I played the
Everybody
first two
played-
Animal
oh,
Crossing
okay.
games, and I was not about to put that many hours into another Animal Crossing game.
Right.
Yeah, I just don't like the like farming mechanic games. Like, so
Yeah, it wasn't.
Fair
for me.
but, like-
Again, I don't own a Switch, so yeah.
well, you should definitely own a Switch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so I'll probably look into
play
that.
Fire
anyway.
Emblem Three Houses.
Yes, and
Yes,
hopefully,
yes.
hopefully we can get you Roy back to do some video game reviews. Maybe we can start the year off with a Cyberpunk 2077 review. That'll be fun. Again, enjoy the rest of your holiday.
Yes, Happy New Year. Well, I think
Happy
we should
New
do
Year.
one on New Year's Eve. We should do like the 20 worst moments of 2020. There you go. Rank them. Just boom.
You know what? Why not? Why?
20 worst moments in what sense?
Could be any. It could be. It obviously can't be like personal. Like
Donald
but,
Trump
like,
saying no to the relief.
I mean, what we've got.
Horrible moment in 2020.
Kobe died, right?
Right.
In 2020, which that feels like 20.
I thought like probably last year. It's
Yeah,
so early this
2
year.
years ago at this point. Like,
Right.
it's just, I think we would not struggle to come up with the
Yeah,
20
the bubble, the sports stopping for like a huge chunk of the years.
Yeah, that one basketball player giving half the NBA COVID. All right, so
Right. Yeah,
I think I'm doing better than most of my American compatriots. It's like,
aren't you on like the second lockdown? Relax.
and don't they have super
No, 'cause-
COVID now in the UK?
I'm in the UK. People are more, not by much, but more sensible here. Like even though the politics are moving further right, it's still not as far right as the US. Like things are better for me here than they are in the US. And then like when I look at 2020, like 90% of what I see is my son. So like.
Right. So you can't sit down and be like 20 worst moments of 2020.
I mean, I
don't
can
have
try.
a thing, so-
I can try. I'll find something.
So
but, like,
fuck
for the most
me.
part, I think
I don't have a son, so it's fuck me. But
I'm having a better year, a better 2020 than most Americans.
I've been very lucky to have professional success in 2020, which is unlike many other people. Like I've been blessed. So like, yeah, but there's like,
we could probably
like we could just do 20 worst Donald Trump moments in 2020.
You know what?
We can make it the UK too, because Boris has also been doing his best over there. So we could go across the Atlantic.
Yeah, exactly. So thank you guys so much. So we do have one more show. But thank you so much for the idea, and thank you so much for coming. We'll catch you on the next Earth2 Ranks Everything, which is on New Year's Eve.